I've seen people out on Twitter pounding the table for me to get in the booth with Pat McAfee.
That would be fantastic.
I've seen that. But as you could see on the screen, Richard Deitch of The Athletic saying there are internal candidates. It has been 18 years and counting where I have not received an ESPY invitation. So
we get you one.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say I am not an internal candidate. You know?
Yeah.
That said, Kurt Warner does NFL Game Day Morning and Monday Night Football for Westwood One Radio. Right. So it's doable because, you know, I am the host of NFL Game Day Morning, and that is a first and foremost duty for me.
You would. What if it's you and Kurt?
You know what? The reality of the situation would be, it would be a great booth, and I'd love to do it with McAfee as well.
Sure.
I would, exactly, and I would be the how do I put it? Vitamin-free broadcaster in the booth. Although, you know, I would have my own nutrients and, you know,
kale and spinach.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, a lot of green juices.
Yeah.
Be
fine.
Not the other green.
I have also seen that people would want, they've added on me and McAfee in the booth and the Pardon My Take guys as the sideline reporters.
Oh,
yes.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That would be a broadcast that I don't know if ESPN would be into. I said this after yesterday's show when we were talking about it. I'll say it in front of the live microphone here. I don't have a problem with it. I think they should say to Mike Breen, it's your turn, Mike. One of the voices of the NFL generation is our friend Joe Buck.
Right.
Who's pretty much called, he said he's only called 10 Brady football games maybe, or 15 football games. They've all been Super Bowls.
Yeah.
From the one in Jacksonville, where Deion Branch won the MVP,
right,
to the 28-3 comeback. So Joe is somebody who's called now close to a half dozen Super Bowls for Fox. And he was once upon a time a baseball voice. Yeah. Why can't Mike Breen be the voice of the NBA Finals and Monday Night Football? In the same way that Al Michaels was a longtime voice of Monday Night Football and also did the NBA Finals for ABC for a few years before Breen took it.
Yeah, Bob is known as a baseball guy, but he did NBA forever.
Mike Breen is a fantastic broadcaster and a big voice broadcaster. I just don't know if, you know, somebody scores a touchdown from deep, if bang would be the appropriate call, but I think Mike can adjust.
Think so?
It wouldn't be bad. It would be a terrific idea as far as I'm concerned. I mean, you want to talk, you're looking internally for a big voice.
Yeah.
That's the person. And then obviously you can go in so many different directions for analysts.
Yeah. Do you want, I mean, obviously we love Pat, but do you want someone with that type of personality in the booth, or do you want more, just personally, do you want to see more
personality
of an analyst
in the booth is necessary.
You've got
to have a personality in the booth, but you have to have somebody who's knowledgeable. We're all coming to a game to watch the game. That's what we're coming for. It was so difficult for me for many years at ESPN to realize the general reason why people were tuning into SportsCenter was to find out what happened. And to keep them there, you keep them entertained. Not entertain them first to the expense of the information. Olbermann was the one who pounded that in me over and over and over again. And seeing The Last Dance this last weekend brought back some flashbacks for me with the first time that I ever went out on assignment for ESPN. The first time I was a SportsCenter anchor fort holder for a year plus. And I finally got out of Bristol for an assignment. They sent me for NBA 2 night. Remember the number 2 on ESPN 2? NBA 2 night.
Neon
they sent me to Boston to cover that Sonics team that we saw in The Last Dance.
Oh.
Okay. And that Sonics team that we saw in The Last Dance won like 60 some odd games, or was winning 60 some odd games
64.
or something like that.
They were
right?
64-18.
And so I was there for several months, and I tried to get out, and I'm like, hey, send me out on an assignment, will you please? And they did. And I went into Boston, and I met a longtime scout of the Celtics, Al Lewis, who played Grandpa Munster. I'm not kidding you, by the way.
Okay.
Grandpa Munster, Al Lewis, was a longtime NBA scout for the Celtics. That's a fact. All right. So Grandpa Munster, as we all know, was the judge in My Cousin Vinny. And we mentioned last week. And it was just bizarre. I'm just talking to Al Lewis, Grandpa Munster, underneath the basket as I'm watching the Sonics and the Celtics go at it. And then after the game, I was supposed to interview some of the Sonics for NBA Tonight. And I went into the Sonics locker room, and they all started coming back one by one, and they were looking as angry as anybody. I mean, they didn't look like they were having a good time at all. Carl, Gary Payton, Detlef Schrempf, they all had like a sneer. And I sat there and thought to myself, the reason why I'm telling the story is I sat there and thought to myself, what did I say on SportsCenter about these guys? That I was having my fun to try and be entertaining and being sarcastic all the time, as opposed to just telling you what the hell happened with a little bit of an edge to it.
Sure.
And that was a big, huge moment for me in my career where I realized what I'm saying into a microphone at 2:30 in the morning with nobody around me physically in Bristol, Connecticut. I mean, I felt socially distant on that job to begin with, literally socially distant, that I realized what I'm saying into a microphone, they're hearing in Seattle. By the way, not only live at 11:30 at night in Seattle, but all throughout the night and the next morning. So what I'm saying gets replayed 15 times. And I sat there thinking, is Gary Payton going to not talk to me because I said something, or he's going to remember what I say? So put that all together, and you can have personality in the booth, but they also have to know what the hell they're talking about.
Yeah.
And do it. And Pat can do that. Pat can absolutely do that. As you know, Pat has advanced as a broadcaster in a significant way. I know he does a lot of stuff as quote-unquote fun, but he can be serious too. And certainly if they put him in the booth, he'll understand that and then get a nice role. And you got to have the announcer who can handle that sort of stuff. But clearly they're not going to go external. They're going to stay internal, certainly with what's going on in the world of COVID-19. And apparently, not to talk too much about business, but people have been asked to take some cuts over there, and to go out and actually spend money on somebody externally, I think would be somewhat problematic if their name wasn't Al Michaels or Peyton Manning.
Yeah, I mean, I think the days of offering
That's
$16
done.
million
That's
for Peyton
done.
Manning
Breeze has made his move. Everybody's made their moves.
Yeah.
Romo's made his move, and so I mean, there's a ton of internal candidates there.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see.
You hear Louis Riddick's name. You hear
Louis Riddick's being thrown about.
Steve Young would be great.
Steve Young, Steve Levy too for play.
Jesse Palmer.
Yeah,
is a guy who's got some broadcasting ability, certainly calling games. He's got some NFL background.
A little bit. Cup of coffee.
Will they give him the rose? I don't even go in that direction
he's
for him.
Handsome. I mean, I think that's.
Well, he was the original Bachelor. You know that, right?
I know.
Was he the original Bachelor or the second Bachelor?
He was very early on.
Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.